Hello, I'm Cian O'Driscoll from the ANU.
And I'm Andy Hom from the University of Edinburgh. With this short video abstract, we'd like to introduce you to a collection of articles forming a special issue in the Review of International Studies concerning the role of existentialism in international relations. This will be published later this year in volume 49 of the review.
The reasoning behind putting together a special issue on existentialism and international relations was our hunch that there's something to be said about this particular relationship, that existentialism appears sometimes to lurk almost unobserved behind so much of the international relations theorizing that we partake in the discipline today. It's very much present in the IR lexicon when we think about the existential and existential threats, when we think about the literature on ontological security, and when we talk about our responses to nuclear apocalypse, to COVID-19, to global pandemics and the like. So our interest in this special issue was to try and unpick that relationship, to see exactly what's going on here, to see to what degree international relations theorizing is indebted to existentialism. Is there something tangible or substantive to be said about that particular relation? And to the degree that there is this something to celebrate, something to excavate, or is this a problematic legacy that holds IR theorizing back, and that IR theorists need to become more aware of, precisely so that we can avoid or evade some of the snares that existentialist thinking falls into? So this was the task that we invited our contributors to this special issue to contribute to. We drew a set of contributors from across the discipline and across the globe, different methodological backgrounds, different theoretical dispositions, different empirical domains, and crucial to this, salient to what we're doing today, all of them took very different points of view on what existentialism is, what its relationship to international relations, how that relationship should be understood, and whether it's IR's legacy or IR's debt to existentialism is a good thing or not.
Existentialism is perhaps the 20th century's most famous philosophy, but we want to stress that the topics and the discussions contained in this special issue are not purely theoretical. There are really good practical and political reasons to look at them, not only in general, but also to look at them today. Whether within IR or in the wider wider human letters, we find lots of references to the age of anxiety, to the existential moments that various peoples and we all are living through, or to simply this sense that existentialism is back in vogue. And indeed, when you look at the last few years of global politics and see rolling pandemics, climate change collapse, the renewal or the sort of renaissance of territorial conquest, and a number of other crises, it does indeed look like the world and IR are going through an especially existential moment. That said, there really hasn't been a systematic treatment of existentialism in IR theorizing, and leading existentialist lights remain on the margins of the IR discourse. Yet, again, one of the things animating this special issue is our sense or our hunch that existential themes and concepts and logics have been running through IR almost from its inception, and are kind of just, again, hiding in plain sight or lurking in the shadows, and that something productive can come out of trying to bring them into the light and really scrutinize them against some of our various concerns in the special issue and in international studies more widely, like violence, resistance, gender, pandemics, environmental catastrophes, and security and war. So to begin addressing these concerns, then, we brought together a number of authors to develop original articles that we hope to excavate this presence of existentialism in IR and reflect on how it has influenced our field of inquiry, for better or for worse. We want to stress here that not all authors take, as Cian said, the same view of existentialism or the same judgment on its impact and perhaps its value to international relations. Our shared goal across the articles is we hope that they offer an indicative and a provocative, rather than a comprehensive, account of existentialism in the field of international relations.
To give you an example or a preview of what the papers do, Benzala and Rens van Munster both plough related furrows when they present studies, separate studies, about the ways in which existentialist thought historically commingled with, but was subsequently denied in, what we might loosely call realist nuclear theorizing. Eileen Hunt, in her essay, finds existentialist ideas animating the modern science fiction literature of Mary Shelley, whose work in turn provided key literary and philosophical resources for mid-20th century existentialists and IR theorists alike.
Following Eileen Hunt, Dalia Samangan uses existentialism to unpack the emerging concept of the Anthropocene. She finds that in widespread ecological anxieties, she finds deep currents of anthropocentrism, of hubris, and universalism. But she also shows that existentialism, still might contain within it a way to rethink climate change more from a bottom-up than a top-down perspective. And then Cian here looks at existentialist concerns that have historically been quite central to the just war tradition, but were subsequently marginalized. After carefully unpacking and tracing them, he also shows how their marginalization has ended up hurting contemporary just war theory, and asks what we might recover in the just war by turning back to existentialism.
And Andy Halm, for his part, traces an antagonistic temporal politics of authenticity from Heidegger's Being and Time and later work through that philosopher's own prolonged embrace of Nazism and onto contemporary right-wing extremism, where he finds conspicuous echoes of Heidegger's account of time in white power and mass casualty attacks. Xander Kirk and Brent Steele in their essay link existentialism to ontological security, highlighting how dread and angst links both, and using Hans Blumenberg's work to explore new ways of thinking about myth as anxiety management tools that enable collective action but remain vulnerable to bad faith actors, as seen in the COVID-19 pandemic.
Finally, by reading his own intellectual biography as a quintessentially existential journey, Luke Ashworth ponders, in a way that only he could, the space that existentialism occupies, but also vacates in the self-image and the growth of IR as a discipline.
Now, naturally, there's a lot of areas that we didn't get to touch on in this special issue. There's a lot of omissions, oversights, gaps, but rather we present these essays, we present this special issue, not as a comprehensive overview or treatment of the field, but as an invitation or a provocation to dialogue. And we look forward, hopefully, to seeing some more scholars take on the baton and think about what is the relationship between international relations and one of the predominant philosophical currents of 20th century thought, the existentialist tradition. So thank you very much for looking into this special issue. We hope you find it enjoyable. Thank you for your time.